Welcome to our deep dive into near-death experiences.
Ooh.
We're going to try to unravel this mystery using both scientific research and real-life accounts.
Right.
Have you heard about Gloria Schaffert's experience?
I haven't.
Back in 1986, she had a severe allergic reaction in a London hospital and went into cardiac arrest.
Oh, wow.
But that's where things take a strange turn.
Okay.
Well, she later recounted walking down a deserted hospital hallway that seemed oddly familiar, yet off somehow. She described the nurse's station and patient rooms in detail, but everything was outdated.
Outdated?
Exactly.
Like,
A nurse who'd worked at that hospital for decades confirmed Gloria's description matched the hospital before renovations.
oh, wow.
Gloria had only lived in London for 5 years
Okay.
and had never seen the hospital in its original state.
So it was like,
It's like she experienced a time slip during her near-death experience.
yeah, like a time slip during her near-death experience.
Sure.
That's certainly a compelling anecdote, and it really makes you think about what might be happening during these near-death events.
Yeah.
But let's look at the broader scientific research.
Okay.
What are some of the key findings that stand out to you?
One thing that struck me is the consistency of NDE accounts.
Okay.
People from diverse backgrounds, cultures, and beliefs often describe similar experiences.
Uh-huh.
The feeling of leaving their bodies,
Okay.
a tunnel of light, a sense of overwhelming peace. These themes seem to recur regardless of who's having the experience.
You're right.
Yeah.
That consistency is a key focus for researchers,
Okay.
especially when these experiences occur during clinical death when there's no measurable brain activity.
Right.
It challenges the idea that NDEs are simply hallucinations caused by a dying brain.
Yeah.
One of the most notable studies in this area is the AWARE study.
Okay, the AWARE study.
It involved over 2,000 cardiac arrest patients across the US, the UK, and Austria.
I remember reading about that study. Wasn't it a huge undertaking?
Absolutely, and the findings were pretty significant.
Oh, wow.
Around 40% of the participants who survived cardiac arrest reported some level of awareness even while they were clinically dead.
40%?
Yeah.
That's a large number. What exactly were they aware of?
The type of awareness varied.
Okay.
Some had a general sense of knowing they were experiencing something without specific memories.
Okay.
Others described more vivid experiences like seeing bright lights,
Right.
feeling like they were floating, or even encountering deceased loved ones.
So even when the brain, as we understand it, has shut down, consciousness might persist.
That's one of the leading theories emerging from this research.
Okay.
Dr. Sam Parnia, who led the AWARE study,
Okay.
suggests that consciousness may not be solely confined to the brain,
Right.
but could function independently at least for a period after death.
It's a pretty revolutionary concept that pushes against traditional scientific thinking.
It-
Speaking of pushing boundaries, there's some fascinating research happening with inducing a suspended state between life and death.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more.
You're talking about the research at the SOFAR Center at the University of Pittsburgh, right?
Sure.
They were able to stop all biological activity in dogs for several hours by replacing their blood with a cold saline solution.
Wow.
Then, remarkably, they were able to revive the dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the connection to NDEs?
Researchers are exploring this technique as a way to potentially induce and study NDEs in a controlled setting.
Oh, wow. So induce the NDEs.
Yeah.
Okay.
The ultimate goal is to apply this in humans,
Wow.
particularly in emergencies like massive blood loss, buying time until proper medical care can be administered.
So instead of dying, someone could be placed in this suspended state.
Exactly.
That's incredible, and it makes you wonder about the implications for our understanding of death itself.
It certainly blurs the lines of what we consider the end of life.
It does.
What's also interesting is that despite the potential benefits, this type of research raises a whole host of ethical questions.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Tampering with the boundary between life and death is a sensitive issue with profound implications.
Exactly.
And it leads us to another group pushing the boundaries of NDE research.
Okay.
A team at the Technical University of Berlin.
Oh, okay, in Berlin.
They're claiming to have developed a method using a cocktail of drugs, including DMT, to induce clinical death in volunteers for up to 20 minutes before reviving them.
I've heard whispers of this research, but it's all very hush-hush.
Yeah.
Have they published any of their findings yet?
Not yet. Okay. While there's a lot of buzz around their claims,
Right.
they haven't released any peer-reviewed data to back them up. It's possible their claims are premature or perhaps more about attracting funding than genuine scientific breakthroughs.
It's almost like the Wild West out there when it comes to consciousness research.
It really is.
So much is being explored, yet skepticism abounds.
Of course, and that's crucial in any scientific pursuit.
Right.
Many scientists remain unconvinced, believing NDEs can be fully explained by physiological changes in the brain, such as oxygen deprivation or the release of certain neurochemicals.
So they believe it's all happening within our heads.
Essentially, yes.
Okay.
For example, one prominent theory suggests that the frequently reported tunnel of light is actually caused by the loss of peripheral vision as the brain shuts down.
Interesting. What about those who report the sensation of leaving their bodies?
Researchers have actually been able to induce out-of-body experiences in controlled lab settings by stimulating specific areas of the brain.
So they're replicating these profound, often mystical experiences with electrodes.
Yeah.
It's incredible how far science has come in understanding the brain.
It is, but even if we can explain the mechanisms behind these experiences, it doesn't necessarily diminish their impact on those who have them.
Right.
We have to acknowledge the very real and profound effect these experiences have on people's lives.
You're absolutely right. Just because we understand the how doesn't negate the why or the significance of these experiences.
Precisely.
Right.
And that's what keeps this entire field of study so fascinating. It compels us to reassess our understanding of consciousness, the nature of reality, and even the very definition of death.
Wow.
Yeah, it really does challenge our assumptions about what it means to be alive and what happens when we die.
It feels like we're on the cusp of a completely new era of understanding consciousness. But I'm curious about the counter-arguments.
Yeah.
What do skeptics say about all this?
Right.
Don't they argue that NDEs are just the brain's last gasp before shutting down?
That's a common argument from those who lean toward a purely physiological explanation.
Sure.
They suggest these experiences are essentially hallucinations brought on by things like oxygen deprivation,
All right.
or the release of endorphins as the body is dying.
But how do they account for cases where people report accurate details of their surroundings or events that happened while they were unconscious? Details they couldn't have known otherwise.
That's one of the main challenges to the purely physiological explanation.
Right.
There are documented cases where individuals describe specific events or details that were later verified, even though they were clinically dead at the time.
It reminds me of a case from the AWARE study.
Okay.
A 57-year-old man who claimed to have floated out of his body and watched the medical team trying to resuscitate him.
Wow.
He accurately recounted details about the room, the equipment,
Right.
even the appearance of the doctors and nurses.
That case is particularly compelling because the man was clinically dead for 3 minutes.
Wow. 3 minutes.
A period where, according to our current understanding, any form of conscious awareness should be impossible.
It's hard to dismiss that as just a hallucination, especially given the accuracy of his observations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Cases like this suggest that maybe consciousness isn't as rigidly tied to the brain as we once thought.
Almost as if the mind, or maybe even the soul, can detach from the physical body under certain extreme circumstances.
It's an idea that has roots in many spiritual and philosophical traditions,
Right.
and now we're starting to see hints of it emerging in scientific research.
And it's not just with near-death experiences.
Yeah.
Think about cases of terminal lucidity, where individuals with severe dementia or Alzheimer's suddenly regain clarity and lucidity just before they die.
That phenomenon is another fascinating piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
A study conducted in Vienna followed over 200 patients with advanced dementia, and about 10% of them experienced this temporary return of cognitive function in their final days.
That's remarkable considering their brains were severely damaged.
It suggests that there might be something beyond the physical brain, something we don't fully comprehend yet,
Right.
that reasserts itself in those final moments.
It makes you wonder if these are glimpses into the true nature of consciousness,
Yeah.
unconstrained by the physical body.
It's certainly a possibility, and it brings up profound questions about the relationship between the mind and the brain.
Yeah.
Are they distinct entities or two sides of the same coin?
We're just starting to explore this vast, uncharted territory.
It's an exciting and slightly unnerving prospect, wouldn't you say?
I would.
Like peering into a realm that's been hidden from us?
Absolutely. It's both exhilarating and humbling to realize how much we still don't know.
With all the advancements in technology, it's incredible to think what other secrets we might uncover about consciousness and what lies beyond. We discussed the research in Pittsburgh where they're inducing suspended animation in dogs.
All right.
What if they could do that with humans?
Wow.
It's like we could send people on controlled journeys into the realm of death and back.
It's a tantalizing idea, but one that comes with a heavy load of ethical considerations.
Right.
Treading carefully is paramount in this area.
I completely agree.
Yeah.
The potential for discovery is enormous, but the ethical considerations are equally significant.
Right.
It's like we're on the verge of a new era of exploration, not of outer space, but of inner space.
Right.
The vast unknown territory of the human mind and what lies beyond it. Perhaps in exploring this inner space, we'll gain a deeper understanding of our place in the universe and the true nature of our existence.
It's a beautiful thought that even in the face of death, there's so much more to discover, so much wonder and mystery to unravel.
Speaking of mystery, we haven't even touched upon one of the most intriguing elements of NDEs.
Okay.
The reported encounters with deceased loved ones?
Oh, yes. That's the part that truly captures people's imagination.
Right.
The idea that we might be reunited with those we've lost in some kind of afterlife.
It's a powerful and comforting thought for many.
Yeah.
And the accounts of these encounters are strikingly similar across cultures and throughout history.
What are people saying about these encounters? What are they like?
Those who describe these encounters often speak of a profound sense of love,
Okay.
peace, and joy. They feel like they're reunited with family members or friends who have passed.
Right.
And there's a sense of recognition and deep connection.
Are these encounters always positive?
That's a great question.
Are there instances where people report negative or even frightening experiences?
That's a great question. While most reported NDEs are positive, a small percentage of individuals describe distressing or even terrifying encounters.
What kinds of negative experiences?
Some report feelings of isolation,
Okay.
darkness, a sense of being judged or punished.
Wow.
There are even accounts of encounters with demonic figures,
Really?
or a feeling of being pulled towards a void.
Those sound intense.
Yeah.
Do you think these negative experiences might be reflections of the individual's own fears or anxieties?
It's certainly a possibility.
Okay.
Cultural or religious beliefs about the afterlife might also play a role in shaping these experiences.
So it's not a uniform experience for everyone.
Exactly. NDEs, like life itself, are varied and complex. There doesn't seem to be one universal experience.
Which makes it all the more fascinating to study.
Yeah.
It's like piecing together a puzzle where the pieces come from different dimensions.
And with each piece we uncover, we inch closer to understanding the bigger picture, the nature of consciousness, and what lies beyond the veil of death.
It really is like exploring the ultimate frontier. The frontier of the human soul.
And who knows what we'll find there.
Yeah.
Maybe even answers to some of life's biggest questions.
Or perhaps we'll find even more questions.
That's the beauty of exploration, isn't it?
Yeah.
The journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely. We've covered so much ground today, from scientific research to firsthand accounts.
Yeah.
It's clear that near-death experiences continue to challenge our understanding of life, death, and the nature of reality.
Indeed, we've seen evidence that suggests consciousness might persist even after the body shuts down, which raises profound questions about our traditional definition of death and the relationship between the mind and the brain.
We've also seen how technology is creating new ways for us to explore these mysteries.
Right.
However, this comes with ethical considerations we need to carefully address.
We're living in a time of remarkable discovery in the field of consciousness research. It makes you wonder what breakthroughs await us in the years to come.
It's both exciting and a little daunting. As we delve deeper into these uncharted territories, the conversation surrounding these experiences is only going to intensify.
And as we navigate these complex questions, we have to remain open-minded and critical,
Right.
willing to challenge our preconceived notions and embrace the vast unknown.
Before we conclude this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought-provoking question to ponder.
Okay.
We've explored the science, the anecdotal evidence, and different perspectives. But ultimately, the question remains, what do you believe?
Do you think consciousness survives the death of the body?
Right?
Is there an afterlife?
Yeah.
And if so, what does that mean for how we live our lives today?
These are profound questions without easy answers.
They are.
But they are definitely worth pondering, especially after our exploration of near-death experiences.
Right.
We encourage you to keep exploring this topic. Read research, discuss, and most importantly, arrive at your own conclusions. Yeah, it really is a case of the more you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
That's so true. And that's probably the biggest takeaway from our exploration of near-death experiences.
Yeah.
It's a field full of mystery, tantalizing clues,
Right.
but no definitive answers.
And yet, even without all the answers, it makes us confront some of the biggest questions about our existence.
It does.
What happens after we die?
Right.
What is the nature of consciousness?
Yeah.
Is there more to reality than what we can perceive with our senses?
These are questions that have occupied philosophers and theologians for centuries,
Yeah.
and now science is beginning to grapple with them too.
And it's not just a theoretical exercise. The
Yeah.
research on NDEs has real-world implications.
Yeah,
We talked about the potential for using suspended animation to save lives in emergencies.
absolutely. And there's also the potential to use NDE-like experiences therapeutically.
Oh, really?
Imagine if we could help people cope with the fear of death, grief, or trauma by inducing these kinds of experiences in a safe and controlled environment.
It's a fascinating concept to harness the power of these experiences,
Mhm.
to heal, to
Mhm.
comfort, to expand our understanding of ourselves and the universe.
It's a vision worth pursuing, but we must proceed with caution,
Right.
recognizing the profound implications of what we're dealing with.
I completely agree. The ethical considerations can't be overlooked when we're talking about manipulating the boundary between life and death.
We need to remember that we're dealing with the core of what it means to be human
Right.
and approach this exploration with humility and responsibility.
That's a crucial point.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the fascinating and often perplexing world of near-death experiences.
It's been a journey filled with awe, wonder, and a healthy dose of skepticism.
It has.
Hopefully it's left you with more than just facts and figures.
I hope it sparked a sense of curiosity and a desire to continue exploring these mysteries.
Because ultimately the quest for knowledge is a personal one. What do you believe?
Yeah.
What meaning do you find in the face of life's greatest mysteries?
Those are questions only you can answer, but we hope our exploration has given you some food for thought and some new perspectives to consider.
And as always, we encourage you to keep an open mind, question everything, and never stop exploring the wonders of the universe,
Yeah.
both inside and out.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep seeking, keep questioning, and keep wondering.